Hey there, good morning. Welcome to Coffee with Connie. I'm Connie Foote with Foote Title Group, where we protect your home ownership. Thanks so much for taking your time to tune in this morning. I know we're getting ready for that tax season. I know it's still a little bit of time left before you can get your taxes ready and get everything filed. But I wanted to talk for a minute about your income taxes and how they affect your property, because a lot of people don't understand that there is a correlation there. That big bad bird IRS, when you don't pay your income taxes, they will do whatever it takes to make sure that that bill gets paid. So if you own a piece of real estate or several pieces of real estate, the IRS can actually come in and place a lien against that ownership of that piece of property. Hey there, Miss Karen. How are you this morning? Hi, Bob. How are you? Hope you're healing well. I know it's been a little while. I hope you're starting to feel better. So let's say you're with your tax advisor and you're getting all of the paperwork together and you find out that your taxes are more than you anticipated, and unfortunately you don't have the resources to take care of that. But what you do have is some assets that IRS will look at and say, well, we're going to get our money and we're going to make sure that that bill is paid. And the way they do that is if you own property, one piece or several pieces of property, they could actually record a lien against that property to ensure that those income taxes are paid. Now, usually it doesn't happen right away because it takes them some time to get through their process. But if they file a lien against the property that you own, that'll cause you a problem because you will have to either, if you're going to refinance the property, if you're going to add someone to the ownership, if you're going to sell the property, if you're going to do any additional financing, maybe you want to do a home equity line for some purpose, you're not going to be able to do that without taking care of that tax lien. So IRS doesn't really care how they get their money. They just make sure that they can attach anything that's available. So let's talk about tax liens for a minute and how that actually works. Good morning, Tulip. Thank you for tuning in. So if a lien is filed against your property, it does depend on who owns that property and how they own it. So with most liens, for example, if you had a lien placed against you because you didn't pay a doctor bill or you were in an auto accident and someone filed a judgment against you, those things could be recorded in the land records against you and could affect that ownership of the property depending on who you own the property with and how you own that property. When it comes to IRS, all bets are off and everything has to be paid to them. So when you're dealing with your income taxes, it is one of the most serious things with respect to your property. If you don't pay those income taxes, they can file a lien against you, and they can, depending on the amount of it, they could potentially force the sale of the property. But at least they can file a lien against the property, and it can affect your ownership. No matter who you own it with or how you own it, you have to get that lien paid, or you can't sell the property or do any additional financing. So it totally depends on how much you owe IRS and what they decide that they want to do. They could just file the lien and wait until you sell the property or refinance it to receive their payment back. But remember, if you're not making that payment and they do file a lien against you, that interest continues to accrue. So just because a lien is filed for $10,000 doesn't mean that that's what you're going to ultimately owe them. We all know that with the interest and penalties, IRS is going to get their money and they're going to get all of the extra as well. Hey there, Sean. How are you this morning? Well, good morning, Miss Wendy. How are you today? Thank you guys so much for tuning in too. So if you owe a lot more than that, more than likely IRS may come in and make some other arrangements to potentially have your they could force a sale, they could do lots of different things. They have lots of different tricks and ways that they can do things, and the legal requirements are that they have the ability to do that. IRS has, as we all know, some long arms and reaches pretty far. Now, the other kind of tax that we need to talk about for just a minute that could that is a lien against your property is your your property taxes. So we've talked about this before, but I want to just throw this in there. Your property taxes are the one lien against the property that can in fact force the sale. with no questions whatsoever. So if you don't pay your property taxes, the local tax collector can force the sale no matter who you owe, who you own the property with, or how you own the property. So as far as taxes are concerned, if we don't pay any of the rest of the bills that we own, you need to make sure that your income taxes are taken care of and that your property taxes are taken care of, because both can very seriously affect the ownership of the property. If you have other liens filed against your property and you own a piece of property with a spouse and you own it as tenants by the entirety, which most spouses do, then another lien, if it's only filed against one person, will not actually require a payment back in order to transfer the ownership or sell that property. So that lien will not affect the ownership of the property. If a lien is filed against two people that own a piece of property that aren't married, but maybe they own the property in a way called joint tenants, then again, if a lien is filed against one of them, it does not affect the ownership. That's absolutely not true with IRS. If a lien, an IRS tax lien, is filed against one of the homeowners, it does affect the ownership and must be paid. So just hopefully a little bit of short information for you this morning that gave you a little bit of heads up on what's going on. Hey there, Mark. How are you this morning? Thanks for tuning in. So as we're thinking about our income taxes, this is the one thing, well, that and your property taxes, you need to make sure those are paid, because they will affect your ownership and they will cause you a problem when you go to sell, refinance, or do any additional financing. Maybe you want to take an equity line out to buy a car or to buy another piece of property. You're not going to be able to do that unless that IRS tax lien is paid for. So you need to either pay those taxes or take out an equity line on your house to be able to pay those taxes to make sure that your own home ownership is secure. Hey there, Beth. How are you this morning? Thanks for tuning in. So the one big thing that really can affect your ownership more than anything else is IRS, which, as we all know, they can affect a lot of things that we do. So hopefully I helped you with a little bit of information this morning, a little bit short and sweet. I did want to point out that there's lots of resources on our website, www.foottetitlegroup.com. One of the things is a form that, an area in the frequently asked questions that talks about ownership, tenancy. Tenancy means the way you own a piece of property with someone else, which directly correlates with this conversation, because it talks about how someone can file a lien against the property and does it affect your ownership depending on who files that lien and how you own it. So there's lots of resources on there. If you go on the buyers tab or the sellers tab or the realtors lenders tab and scroll down to resources, resources is lots of things that you can download and get information, share with others. And then there's also helpful links tab, which is links to a lot of things in Maryland and Virginia that you may need to know, information that you can get or may need to know in order to make sure that your closing is successful. So hopefully I helped you a little bit today, understanding the big man IRS and how it affects your home ownership. And if you have any additional questions, please reach out to me. I'm always available to help you. I really appreciate you taking the time to tune in with Coffee with Connie this morning. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you real soon. I'm Connie Foote with Foote Title Group, where we protect your home ownership.